It was a great atmosphere there, close to 50,000 in attendance. Weather cool, windy. Overall, I thought the players managed the game well, and especially in the closed end of the stadium early. Handled the crowd noise offensively and did a great job with that. The effort and enthusiasm for the second week in a row was there. We knew going in the East Carolina quarterback was a very talented player, and we had to control him in the passing game. He hurt us also in the running game, and we'll talk a little bit about that part of it. Ruffin McNeil's done a great job there. They're a solid team. They had a rough first part of the schedule with non-conference, tough loss to Houston, and you could see it on the film. Even from the week we played Memphis, watching them, they had been building and they had been improving, and he just does a great job with the program along with his staff. And I was able to visit with him before the game and talk to some of his experiences at Texas Tech and share there, and just appreciate him and what he did in talking with me there. Getting into the game as a whole, I know talking with Roger last week, we went a little bit long. I'll be a little bit briefer than what I was last week. As far as special teams, they were sound. Mentioned the effort by the entire team. Gave a great effort. The punt corrections that had plagued us in the past, the team did a nice job with that, with the scheme. We were solid there. Big play by Jonathan Ginsburg early. He saw that the opening was there on the right side, pulled it down, and ran for a big first down in the game. Derek Strozier continues to play well for us. He had 2 big returns in the game. Robert Kelly had a big kickoff return, and then our kickoff coverage was the best it's been all year, and we'll need that. SMU has an outstanding kickoff return unit, and we'll need them to have that same type of game in Dallas. Areas for improvement, special teams, they had 2 big returns on us. Their punt return was all conference last year, and we'll have to make some adjustments in the scheme to get some of our force players so that they can go down on that group. Defensively, 2 turnovers in the game. Dominique forced a fumble on a reverse. Trent had a big return to the 5-yard line. Darryl Farley's interception in the game also was 2 big plays for them. Defensively, we were good on third downs, holding them 5 out of 15, 35%, which was one of our highs for the season. Again, we only gave up 3 explosives, 25 yards or more, 2 passes and 1 run. The red zone, we forced 2 field goals, kept us in the game early, where the score could have got out of hand had we allowed them to go in. With the defensive staff, meeting with them, they gave the best effort of the game to the entire defense. They really ran to the ball, held the cup, and kept people in front of them. Trent Mackey, again, had an outstanding game at linebacker, 15 tackles, 115 on the season. Again, one of only 103 players, or one of 3 players this year to have over 100 tackles, and leads the conference. He's 3rd nationally. Desmond was the player of the game defensively. In his 2 years here, he has 12.5 sacks in 2 seasons, and then he had 1.5 sacks versus East Carolina. He played well for us. And Ryan Travis continued to have a solid game. Offensively, the first half overall was a solid first half for us. We were able to run the ball efficiently. Some things we have to improve on. We were 3 of 3 in the red zone with 2 field goals. And down the stretch with opponents that we have, certainly with SMU, it's great to get points, but we need to turn those into 7 points at some point in time. We missed a field goal on the opening drive. We missed a 48-yarder. We had the wind. He had hit it from a considerable distance further than that. He had hit some 60-yarders in the pregame with the wind. He pushed it off to the left. It was a 12-play drive. It was an opportunity to get on the board early. Things well from the game offensively, our run efficiency, which is 4 yards or more. We were 20 of 28 on our runs at 71%. First down efficiency, which we look at 4 yards or more being successful. We were 19 of 26 for 66%. Some areas that we have to improve down this 4-game stretch, and this week versus Dallas, are third downs. We were 4 of 15 for 27%. And I mentioned the red zone in that. Second half for us, we didn't execute as well as we need to in the second half. Give East Carolina credit for that. A lot of that credit, we had 2 turnovers that stopped drives in the second half. We had 3 3-and-outs in the second half. And then overall, we had 4 sacks in the game. 1 sack came as a coverage sack early in the game, 2 of the sacks in the second and third quarter, and then when we were in a 2-minute offense, one of our drive stoppers was one of the sacks there. So have to improve in protection and working that. The passing game, again, be it protection, be it routes, be it reads, be it throws, something that continue to develop in the work and practice this week and have to have versus SMU. And again, East Carolina is second in the conference in pass coverage defensively, so we knew it would be a challenge there. And then in the second half, fourth quarter, when we were down by 2 scores, we went into the throwing game. Certainly was a challenge for us. Offensively, people that played well for us, Orleans Darkwa continues to have back-to-back games. He had the breath knocked out of him, had to leave the game, but he did return. He played well for us. Albert Williams, who hadn't played the week before, was in on 16 snaps, picked up a big 3rd down for us, and ran the ball well. He had over 4 or 5 yards of carry in the game, and so he stepped up. He was ready to go when Orleans wasn't able to. Offensive lineman Joey Ray in that scheme, he was the offensive lineman of the week. We'll stop there before we go on to SMU and any questions that you may have.
I don't know if you can answer it or not, but Orleans is 100% to go this week?
Yes, you have an injury report. Did Roger give you the injury report?
Yeah.
Okay, just check that.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
he's not on it. He's practicing.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Ryan Griffin seems to be struggling right now. He could sort of,
Well, when the offense is not doing as well as you would expect, the quarterback takes the brunt of that. Sometimes, I talked about sacks. Offensive line get too much credit and they get too much blame. Well, so does the quarterback with the offense. Ryan never got into a groove last week, comfort zone, and that's something offensively that we're looking at. We're looking at scheme-wise. What can we do to get him involved, to get him comfortable in the game?
It seems like you're improving on the field in terms of both in Memphis and in East Carolina. Things are getting a little bit better, but the scoreboard is still turning the wrong way and not necessarily in close games. What needs to be the difference? Is it 1 or 2 plays, or is it a matter of getting tired in the stretch, or what's going on?
Well, the effort's there, the attitude. Certainly, the players, the coaching staff are working hard, and the results on the scoreboard aren't that. It's still a loss in the game. So we have to just continue to what we're doing, continue working, and the players giving that effort, the players playing with that attitude. We have to continue to eliminate the mental mistakes. It's been said mental mistakes lose games, physical mistakes lose ground. And now we have to go to the one-on-one physical areas where those players in a whole category have to dominate their area physically, do their part, whether it's offensive line, defensive line, in each segment, and then carry it over to our 3 team phases.
Do you think that we got all of this together? You guys are playing, it seems like more enthusiasm, more effort.
Mhm.
That for the full 60 minutes, did you think that maybe it would be a little bit closer on the half, considering the results of the last 2 games?
Well, we thought the last 2 weeks, going into it, we were confident and we felt like we were going to win the game. And we'll continue building this week and preparing, and we'll go into Dallas with that same attitude.
At some point, I know it has to catch up with the players that, their big goal of the season has been eliminated at this point. It seems like there could be a danger that there's sort of a letdown. The kids were playing to try to go to a bowl game this season.
Well, that's when you start out the season, the conference championship, the bowl game. And as the season goes, we had opportunities to this point to be in a position for a bowl game. That didn't happen. What the players and the coaching staff, we're all in it together. We're all in it for the same reason. And the reason these players work out all summer, the reason they go through two-a-days, the reason they go through the surgeries and to come back, whatever drives them to play the game is what we have to pull from these last 4 weeks. Same way with the coaching staff. What motivates them can be family, can be scholarship, whatever the reason that drives them with those goals no longer intact, that has to be the driving force for both the staff and the players. Well, you continue in practice. You continue working fundamentals and techniques. You look at personnel groups. What is your best personnel group? Is it 4 wide receivers? Is it 3? Is it 2? As far as changing the scheme, that happens in the spring. That happens in the fall. And without us having an open date, the terminology won't change. The overall scheme won't change. I think with Greg's personality, you see different in play calling. You see more one-back sets now than you did 2-back sets. But the players, the terms and the schemes are really what we have, so we have to continue to develop them. We have to continue to develop them each day in practice, and then look at the routes, look at the personnel groups, and what gives us a chance to be successful on Saturday.
Is there any thought to, maybe it's a blown, but is there any thought to playing DJ Ponder more at this point, or is that even, is it, with Griffin having 2 sort of poor performances?
Well, yeah, Ryan's our best quarterback. He's our #1 quarterback. And as a staff, we feel like he gives us the best opportunity to win. As far as playing DJ, should the role be necessary, should Ryan need a relief, to go in and to do that as a backup role. And that's still being looked at in the game plan, where he is the second quarterback. Should the need be, he will go into the game and working.
If you had to choose a culprit that most needs to be fixed in the passing game, is it separation, is it drops, is it throws, is it protection? I mean, if there was a priority list of things, I know you've mentioned all of them.
I have. Memphis, Ryan threw for, 300 and something yards in the Memphis game. This week was different. East Carolina did a nice job of mixing coverages from man to zone. Our receivers, have to continue to develop to read those coverages along with Ryan. And the receivers aren't alone. I mean, we have to give them time and protection, be it offensive line, be it running backs, be it tight ends, fullbacks, whoever's involved in the protection scheme. There's no quick fix to this. Like the question was asked earlier, we'll go out today, we'll go out tomorrow, and even Thursday. And, individual drills, 7-on-7, continue to build with that. And then we'll look, we've done a self-scout. We do that all year. And then we've done a recent self-scout. We'll look at what's been productive. And we'll go back and look this week, why hasn't it been productive? And see, was it scheme, was it personnel? And then for SMU, put that plan into effect.
When you look at SMU, the first thing that jumps out to me.
Oh, we're moving on to SMU. Are we finishing East Carolina and moving on to SMU?
They are so big up front, offensive line-wise, and they seem to have all the pieces, offensively to be very dangerous. They have that good back, they have the passing game, they have the quarterback, and then they have these, 300-pound linemen.
They are very good. With maybe the exception of East Carolina this past week, SMU is by far the best team that we've played to this point. And when you talk about them offensively, their scheme, the run and shoot, with June Jones, wherever he's been, has been an exciting offense. And haven't been the last 2 weeks, but overall they have the ability to put a lot of points on the board. They have 9 senior starters on offense, 5 of them in the offensive line. They're a seasoned group. They're a veteran group. And they do a nice job of protecting the quarterback. You mentioned their wide receivers. They have as much speed as we've seen to this point of the season on the field. They do a nice job of stretching the field, and you add that with the protection that the offensive line gives it. They're very explosive in the offense.
You've played SMU a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen, their series kind of change a little bit. What transformed with them? Obviously, they got a new coach. Gene stepped in, but even then, you guys had success against Gene early.
Yes.
Then the last 2 years run differently in Michigan. I think they're 20 underdog going into this game. And what about their program has kind of transformed that you see just lining up?
Well, they had success, and then they built upon that success. And then the attitude, the program, the confidence of their players took off. and they've just built on that. And it's followed through in recruiting, and it's followed through this year. They've had some big wins. They had the early season loss to Texas A&M, but then they had the big win versus TCU and the big win versus Central Florida. They went on a 5-game winning streak. You know, they're coming off of 2 road losses, one at Southern Miss, and then most recently they had 4 turnovers in the Tulsa game, and was 17 to 7, I believe, in the second quarter. So they fell behind early with that, but they had some success. June and his staff have done a great job in recruiting, and then they built on that success. And now the players have the confidence, no matter the opponent, they're going to go out with that style of offense. I haven't got to the defense yet, but they're just as talented in defense, and they're just as talented in special teams.
Was there a spark that changed?
I'd have to look at the history. I don't know if there's a spark. You know, that may be a good one to ask June on his conference call.
Coach, is there a sense of optimism because the fact they've lost 2 straight games, so they made turnovers the last game that cost them that game? They haven't been really close in their last 2 games, although they beat TCU on the road, which is a pretty impressive win. Is there some cause for optimism, the fact that they have lost 2 in a row, that maybe they might be, having some second thoughts about where they are, they're struggling a little bit, I guess.
Oh, I agree. You answered your question with the question. Yes, with them having the 2 weeks that they haven't performed as well, they have to go back and take a look. They had a 5-game winning streak. What happened? The Tulsa game was the turnovers. We can look last year. We take a lead into the 4th quarter against them. So for our group to have confidence, what's happened recently with SMU, the last 2 losses, how we played last year up until the 4th quarter against them, I think certainly something to build on this week with confidence going into Saturday's game.
Dave, you're very fast on defense. If you could sort of characterize what you see.
Yeah, on defense, a lot like East Carolina, they have a 3-man front, and they're big. Their defensive ends, one's 6'6", the other one, he plays a considerable amount of time, is 6'8". What June has done is, they played early. They played as freshmen. They played as sophomores, both sides of the football. So some of these guys were asking, will they ever graduate? Because we've seen the same group now over the last two or 3 years. But they have an all-conference performer in Taylor Thompson, defensive end. They have an all-conference performer in their linebacker, number 56, Davis. Outstanding group. And then a number of second-team all-conference performers. They pressure the quarterback. They're second in the conference in sacks. You watch the film, and third down is really a nightmare versus them because they're able to get a 3-man rush and get to the quarterback in all the games that we've watched. And then you add the multiple schemes like East Carolina that they can run in blitzing their linebackers. They're very sound in the secondary. Their 2 safeties are among their leading tacklers, as you would expect. And most people don't view the run and shoot as a physical offense. They are. Their tailback leads the conference in rushing. And looking at June and having played him not only here but when I was at Tulsa, if you just defend the pass, drop 8 people, he'll run the ball, and has done it well this year and throughout the previous years. But defense, they're a very physical unit. They run to the ball, they gang tackle, and I think looking at them, total defense, they're 3rd in the conference.
Any more questions?
Thank you. Enjoy lunch.